Good morning, and thank you for joining us. I'm Ella Hughes, the Director of Youth Takeover, Loddon Campaspe. I'm talking to you from the lands of the Dja Dja Wurrung and the Taungurung people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional custodians of this place. I'd like to acknowledge elders past, present, and emerging, and any First Nations people who are joining us today. Youth Takeover Loddon Campaspe, as the name suggests, will be delivered from the lands of the Yorta Yorta people in the north to the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people's lands in the south. We've connected with some Indigenous leaders and groups across the region, and I'm really looking forward to working with more Indigenous groups as we plan, deliver, and assess our program over the next 3 years. I'd also like to acknowledge Ian Han, Vice President Operations Australia, Felicia Binks, Director Environment and Government Relations, and Tim Berthasell from Kirkland Lake Gold. We are thrilled to have their support through the Kirkland Lake Gold Community Partnership Program, and I believe Felicia and Tim are joining us today, which is fantastic. This funding has allowed us to devise the program, hire a crack team, and start delivering real opportunities to young people across the Loddon Campaspe region. Importantly, the Kirkland Lake Gold Community Partnership Program has funded Youth Takeover for 3 years, meaning we can really plan, test, deliver, evaluate, and then go back to the beginning and do it all again. This project will evolve and grow as we learn from the young people and businesses involved, and we follow their trajectory through the program. We're not just going to run a few takeovers and walk away. With this generous funding, we're going to make a real difference and create a model that others can use too. Many of you may know the local learning and employment networks, the LENs, and you might know the executive director for your area. But today we are actually lucky to have 4 LENs involved in the delivery of Youth Takeover, and I'd like to welcome Anne Trickey from Campaspe Kahuna LEN, Dave Burton from Goldfields LEN, and thanks for the office, Dave. Jane Hosking, who runs North Central LEN, and Trent McCarthy from down south at Central Ranges LEN. Thanks for your support. So my colleague Amanda is managing the chat this morning. Please don't hesitate to ask us any questions if you have any. Today, we're going to tell you a bit more about why we've developed this program and what the research tells us about youth employment in our region. Then I'm going to share some information on how the program works, what we already have to offer, and how you can get involved. We'll also hear from some of the people helping us make this project a success. But first, it's my great pleasure to introduce Jeanette Pope from Freelance Strategy to explain the problem we're trying to solve with Youth Takeover, the research, and the concept. Over to you, Jeanette.
Thanks, Ella. So hi, everybody. I thought I'd just go through some of the youth-led research that underpins this project to tell you a little bit about, sort of how we developed the model. And a lot of you all have heard this bit of the story first, but we started off back in lockdown 1 when the shutdown started, and we started to see the industries where young people are mostly employed start to kind of crash. And we saw these terrible headlines across all of the newspapers about the jobs that young people were losing, the opportunities they were losing. And it culminated in a survey that the VicLens did of principals across schools that told us that the Year 12s who were leaving last year were feeling really bleak about their futures. And we kind of wondered about this research, most of it being done in the cities, and also that there being kind of counterforces with a lack of migration. So we got this bunch of 9 young people together to go out and research the situation out here in the region. And many of you might recognise these. I believe Mia's here today. And they wrote this report, How Work Works, which some of you may have come to the launch of. And we have since created 2 other internships, which have done 2 other reports. So the second report, which is due out next week, I think, or next week or the week after, focuses more on work experience, drills into the issue of work experience. And the third report repeats the first and tells us a little bit about what's going on in terms of young people and work across this region. So now in total, we've had 20 young interns interview 60 employers from our major industries and our growing industries, and they've surveyed 400 young people on top of that. And what we found out is that our growing industries have jobs and they want young people. They desperately want young people. And in fact, we found this in the first report, and then the third one, which we're just completing now, the situation's become quite dire. So the skill shortages are acute now, and it doesn't really matter whether you were an industry that was reliant on having skilled migration, that the lack of skilled migration is now impacting right across all of the industries as the competition for workforce is fierce. From our 400 surveys, we found that young people's interests match the jobs on offer in this region, and quite strikingly so. So it's not an issue that young people don't want to do the work out here. What we found is that young people aren't transitioning into these jobs because they don't know about the opportunities. So they're just not hearing about them. They don't know where the work is, and they don't have contact with these employers. So there's this massive disconnect going on in our region between young people and the work that's available. So what do we do to deal with this disconnect? Well, the International Labour Organisation has, on its research, said for a long time that the reason that young people are specifically disadvantaged in tight labour markets is because they lack work experience, job-seeking skills, and networks and contacts. And we've certainly found that with this research. Our employers have told us that the first thing they look for on a CV is work experience. They don't mind what it is. It doesn't have to be a job. It can be something in the community. It can be being part of a team sport for a long time, anything that shows a person can commit. But what we've seen over the last year is that the opportunities for young people to get work experience right across the board, from a part-time job through to the placements that you might do at school, all the way through to those community activities that you might be involved with, have been impacted by COVID-19. And again, another survey through the Vic Lens this year showed that many industries are no longer taking work experience placements because either young people have not been able to get vaccinated yet, or because people are working at home and you can't supervise, or because they're in industries where there's all these grants flying around and there's so much work going on that they don't really know how to deal with it in the new regulations. So that's now a bit of a crisis for young people. They're missing out on the foundational thing that they need to be able to make that step out into work. And what we've heard about, what we know about industries is they need to work out ways to be able to connect with young people. And in the last report that we did, we actually asked all of the employers where all the places they look for young people, young employees, and we put it all out on a map, and it was this bewildering spiderweb of situation. And the young interns looked at it and were like, we don't even know what most of those things are, or they're in channels like Seek, where Seek is going to not look at that work experience that comes from you playing a team sport. They're just going to filter you out and you're gone. So the situation not too good there either. So that got us thinking, there's actually a whole lot of things that communities can do to solve this disconnect right now. And the first is that we could create some kind of work experience program that would help young people get this experience in lieu of it coming from industry. And secondly, we could start to identify, using this data that we're collecting, we can start identifying the needs and start looking at the ways that we could either collaborate together or find other ways to start to make the systems changes that are needed to fix this problem in the long term. So then it was off to Melbourne to the Northcote Town Hall, where we found this model. So Northcote Town Hall is an art centre, and two people who run this program, Let's Take Over, down there, gave us their model. So thanks to Vicky Guglielmo and Sam Butterworth, who have really opened up their books and showed us exactly how this works. But they take 10 young people each year. They put them through a 6-week project where they're mentored by industry mentors in the arts sector. And at the end of the 6-week project, they take over the Arts Centre and run the programming for a day. And this gives the Arts Centre a chance to look at the young people as well and see what it takes to attract a younger audience. So there's a real quid pro quo in this model that I really like. It's not just for the benefit of the young people, it's also for the benefit of the industries. So we thought this would be a great model to use in Loddon Campaspe to make sure that our young people are getting the work experience and the networks and contacts that they need, and make sure that our growing industries are able to rejuvenate with young workforces because they're meeting young people. So that's all I wanted to say about the research, but I've also now run this pilot so that we ran the pilot, and as is the want, we went straight into lockdown 5, and so I went straight back online. But I have this bunch of 8 young interns at the moment who are working on a project called Women in Trades. So their interest was in why the gender pay gap exists, and the reason that pay gap exists is because women and men do different types of work in different types of industries. So they were interested in why it is that young women are not moving into the higher paid trades that are the mainly male-dominated industries at the moment. And the target for this takeover was the consultation for senior secondary reform. So the Victorian government are currently running a consultation to see how it can change vocational education in secondary schools. So this team wanted to input into that process and learn how to write a submission. So we've partnered up with Tradeswomen Australia, who have been helping us. And along the way, we've had a whole lot of help from a whole lot of people to find young tradeswomen. So the VicLens, the DET, the Department of Education's Vet Champions, Minerals Council of Australia, You Thrive, a couple of other organisations have helped us to find women, and these interns have been interviewing them, and we'll write this report to go into that consultation. And along the way, they've been mentored by the advocacy people at Tradeswomen Victoria, by Trent McCarthy from Central Rangers, about how the schools, government schools process works. They've been seeing a few people from different engagement organisations, consultancies who've been teaching them about interviewing. And we've also got someone on board to teach them some strategic communications. So that's our pilot that will be completed soon, and we'll be blasting that out to you. And I'll hand you back to Ella to tell you about the rest of our program.
Thanks so much for that, Jeanette. I'm really excited to be working on a project that is so evidence-based and taking it out into the world and proving how we can make a difference. If you've got any questions about the model or the research, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us, and we'll try and answer those questions. And keep an eye out for the launch of the How Work Works report, which is also coming up. So the best way to explain how our takeovers are actually going to work is to share a few examples and introduce you to a few of the team. The takeovers will take many forms, and they'll engage young people across different locations, a really wide variety of interest areas, and they're going to introduce them to allies in their search for a job and a career. What we'll be doing is paying our facilitators and our assistant facilitators, most often a young person, to coordinate the program. The young people will receive $500 to cover the costs of transport, data, their phone, and each takeover has $1,000 to spend on their launch, their event, or whatever the outcome is that they've decided to have. And we hope that this model will become cost effective and so wonderful and have such great results that communities across Victoria will be able to pick it up and run with it long after we've completed our phase. So what does that actually look like? At its most basic, A takeover is an opportunity to work in a particular industry or business to develop the workplace skills that you can use to get a job. So an example is that we're going to be working with Will Austin from Yarnbark. He's going to be one of our facilitators. Will's going to work with a group of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander young people to explore traditional craft and artefacts. The group will develop a map that promotes the Indigenous economy in their region, and they will then deliver a workshop to the Economic Development and Tourist Information Officers in the area to showcase culture and provide those staff with a professional development experience to support their own work. The takeover will allow young people to explore culture and well-being, meet mentors and employers, develop teamwork, organisational and project skills, and use those skills to find a job. Another takeover in the works, which is very much in development at the moment, but I'm super excited about, involves young people working with James Sorahan from the Mining Council to explore work in emergency services. Hi, James. I think you are with us today. So each year, James runs a mine rescue competition where the mines in the area compete to see who is the best at dealing with a simulated disaster on site. So a group of young people work with James and firefighters, police, ambulance, search and rescue and others to save as many lives as they can in whatever disaster scenario they are given. Literally a matter of life and death. And this group will be exposed to the many ways that they can be involved in life-saving careers, as well as learning more about the mining industry, one of the biggest employers here in our area. We're also exploring takeovers for coming up with a new sausage flavour, coordinating a large-scale sporting event, designing a wine label that will actually get used on a bottle of wine, growing food and selling it at a market, painting a mural for a youth space, and making an online shop for artists and makers in Chuka. Our aim is really to give young people work experience that will mean that they can write a job application and succeed in a job interview. Everyone in the project will be invited to an extra session with me. I'm actually a careers counsellor, amongst other things, to discuss how to translate the skills that they now have into a CV and use the story of the project to get their foot in the door. Each takeover will involve a range of mentors, so the young people have more contacts, networks, and people who can act as referees for them as they progress into their careers. Okay, let's hear from some of the people helping us deliver these projects. I've got a short video to share with you, and I hope that the technology pixies have had all the time that they needed. Okay, here we go.
Hey, my name's Jordan Collin and I run Huntley Organics, a market garden here in Bendigo. I'm also a web developer. So I'm going to be helping facilitate this Len Youth takeover with Echuca Moama Tourism and my co-facilitator Mia. And we're going to be taking the group through the practical experience of building a website, but really focusing on communication skills and working as a team and just producing a really good product at the end of it. So the idea is that you'll gain a lot of real workplace experience and get an idea of what it is to work in an industry like this, gain a lot of contacts and get expert mentoring on the way. So it should be really great, and I hope you'll join me.
Hi everyone, my name is Mia Oberon and I was an intern for the How Works Works project supervised by Jeanette Pope last year. The How Works Works project was an amazing opportunity. I loved being able to work with young people, see a project through from the start to the finish, and also loved being able to see the report actually make a difference. Right now I'm in Canberra and I'm studying the international security at the Australian National University, but I'm really excited to be working alongside Jordan as Assistant Facilitator in the Made in Echuca Moama Takeover project. I hope that I can help young people have an experience like I did in the How Works Works project.
My name is Catherine McKenzie and I'm CEO of Echuca Moama Tourism, which is the peak tourism organisation for the region. Over the past 18 months, the COVID pandemic has devastated our tourism industry. We are there absolutely thrilled to be involved in the Youth Takeover project via the creation of an online shop which will promote our local producers, local products, our artists and artisans who have been so badly devastated by the pandemic. I'm so looking forward to working with Jordan, who will bring his design and development skills to the fore, and Mia, who is an inspirational young leader who will bring energy, innovation and great insights to the project to provide our youth with an employment pipeline. Makes this such a worthwhile project to be part of.
Hi, my name's Reese from Nacho Station and I'm really excited to be a facilitator for the Youth Takeover. Nacho Station is a collective of artists who work on murals and other creative projects in regional areas. For participants jumping on to our workshops with Nacho Station, to learn a little bit more than just how to paint a mural. We'll be looking at how to look for funding opportunities, how to create proposals to go for those funding opportunities, how they might be able to partner with communities to do different projects, and also getting into some of the tricky stuff like how do you price your work as a creative, and how do you write quotes, develop proposals, and go through the process to keep your clients happy and deliver really exciting work. I'm really looking forward to getting involved and working with these young people who are interested in creative careers, and looking forward to meeting everyone. Bye.
Hi guys, it is Kira here from the KH Studio. We are an online agency that specialises in brands, websites and social media for passionate business owners, which is really why I'm super excited to be a part of this next Youth Takeover. I am just beyond excited to be a part of this program, particularly with such a creative idea like making the packaging for a wine bottle. I think it's going to be so fun, it's going to be edgy, it's going to be that little bit of something extra that's really going to get you motivated about hopefully your next steps into the world of business. So I'm really, really excited to help you learn things about teamwork and project management and graphic design and branding, and it'll be really fun to pull it all together, and hopefully you'll get a lot out of it, and hopefully you'll love it, and you'll be just as passionate about this as I am about this concept. So I cannot wait to meet you all then, and I look forward to seeing you all soon.
I'd like to thank Jordan, Mia, Catherine, Reese and Kira, who I think are all with us today, for being part of our launch. I really can't wait to get these takeovers started. It's just going to be so exciting to introduce the groups of young people to the fantastic facilitators and assistant facilitators and businesses that are involved. As you can see, what we're doing here is we're using creativity, risk, real-world adventures, art, sport, research, search and rescue, design, performance, policy, to engage the widest possible cohort of young people from all across this region. We want to make sure that young people who are creative have an opportunity, but perhaps young people who are super interested in writing have an opportunity. Perhaps people who are super interested in interviewing and talking to others and making a difference. So we want each takeover to really capture a different cohort of young people. And we're going to use those high engagement activities to give them the work experience they really need, covering the 3 skills that employers have told us are the most important: teamwork, managing a project, and organising yourself. We've got a fantastic full menu of takeovers that are ready to get started. We're going to deliver a whole lot of those before the end of this year, and then we're going to deliver a whole lot more next year and beyond. They might change over time as we get to know what works and what doesn't work, but that's the amazing thing about having this funding for 3 years. We're also linking the takeovers to industries that actually have entry-level jobs on offer, like viticulture and Heathcote, mining, communications, food, and agriculture, so that the mentors and people the young people meet might actually have a job to give them. COVID's hit us all really hard in many ways. Businesses are struggling and some industries have been impacted to the point of near collapse. Our takeovers will reinvigorate businesses in our area and introduce them to a new labour force and pay them to facilitate opportunities within their workplaces. And COVID has also impacted those young people, and opportunities for meaningful work experience have ceased to exist, as Jeanette was outlining for us. Schools are coping with the pressures of online learning and the lack of access to workplaces, and our takeovers are going to fill that important gap. We're going to solve a problem that's all too obvious for regional job seekers. You can't get a job without work experience, and you can't get good work experience without a program like Youth Takeover. This is where you all have a role to play. Help us find the young people who are at a loose end in your community. The kids who finished year 11 or 12 and just aren't quite sure what to do next. The ones who didn't really have a plan post-school and probably still don't. Send them our way. Help them sign up to do a takeover, and myself or my colleague Amanda will be in touch with them pretty much immediately. If we don't have a takeover in their region or their field of interest right now, we are going to do our very best to make one happen as soon as we can. We've got plenty of time to work it all out and make as many takeovers happen as we can. If you know someone who'd be a great mentor or facilitator, or a business who might host a creative and imaginative takeover, email me with an introduction and I'll speak to them too. Invite me to your staff meetings, your networks and your conferences, and I'll share what we're doing so that we can deliver these takeovers to as many young people as we can. I'm going to share our contact details with you at the end of this, but I think Amanda has also been popping those into the chat. I really want to thank you all for joining us at 8:30 on a Tuesday morning. I really appreciate your time, and please don't hesitate to get in touch with us, ask as many questions as you like, and send young people in our direction. If they want to have a conversation with us before they sign up, we are here and ready to take their call. So note down our contact details, and I hope to be speaking to a lot of you very, very soon. Thanks so much.